You know what, dude? He wanted to be in his own commercial. And so they just like, he hired some firm and they said, we got a line for you. You're going to say, I am the king. I'm the king of mattresses. And they filmed him at his, CEO desk. Like, I am the king. And he didn't have time to do 3 or 4 takes. They're just like, we'll make it work.
That's like that episode of The Office where Michael has all the ideas and they're just like, no, we actually already came up with something.
But his idea was good.
Yeah. Well, and what was it? They were like, oh, you get to choose whether you wave or finger. Like, it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah. And they all wave like this, all stale and sterile, devoid of any
But the
kind
commercial,
of
the commercial they had was legit.
Super good, yeah.
It was good.
Speaking of which, dude, I was eating at BK the other day, so I just don't really eat at Burger King, probably because there's not very many locations. But I had a burger, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a decent burger, but it's not the king. You're not the king.
No.
And who do you think you are? Who made Burger King? Who was like, hey, you know what, Burger King? You can't just make your. That's like me opening up a steak restaurant and saying, I'm Steak King. I'm king. I'm Steak King now.
No,
you're not. King. You're not Steak King. You're not world famous. Okay, you put world famous on a hole in a wall. Okay, I'm gonna go to Pakistan and they've heard all about you. They heard all about you. They just know. No, you're not,
dude. That's my biggest caveat with movies and restaurants is exactly that. America's favorite, according to who, bro? America's favorite.
You're not the king. That's my point. You're not the king. Okay. The nerve.
Dude, the nerve of a fast food restaurant, right? Like when people are like, "Oh, In-N-Out's the best," I'm like, the best fast food burger.
Yeah.
But they're not the best.
That's another thing. The Burger King isn't the best at anything. They're like in the fast food category, they're a solid 7 on everything. Their fries are decent, their burgers are decent, the prices aren't that good, their ketchup isn't great, their sauces aren't great. They don't really have any wow things except for their chicken fries. But when are you like, I can't wait to get this from Burger King?
And in regards to the chicken fries, that's what Taco Bell does. It's like all the same ingredients, just in a different shape.
Yeah.
Are you excited for our new shape? Like, sure am.
They tapped out with the Crunchwrap. That was kind of like the last way they could reshape all their ingredients.
Dude, and I have to say that worked on me because I love me a Crunchwrap.
Yeah,
like it worked. It worked.
The thing about Crunchwrap, dude, is you have about 10 minutes to eat it before it gets cold and tastes like dog food again.
You know what's funny is every time somebody tells me they like Taco Bell, that's what I say. I say, yeah, but you got 10 to 15 minutes to eat that. And they're like, yeah, dude, you're right. And I'm like, that's why Del Taco's better.
I know. Okay, here's how I know Del Taco's better, because I've left Taco Bell in my car all night, and I've left Del Taco in my car all night. Which one do you think smelled like shit when I went to my car the next day?
Yeah,
Del Taco smelled like, okay, there's food in here. Taco Bell smelled like, what is that? It smells like you have a diaper in the back seat or something. That's what I put in my mouth. That's what that is.
Yep. Well, yeah.
So
that's people are like, oh, Del Taco's better, and I'm like, maybe not. The quality's just better, bro. But look, at the end of the day, it's all fast food, so it's all garbage. So
I don't know where this world famous thing came from and stuff. Like world famous. What are you talking? Like that's such a claim. That doesn't mean like somebody in India heard about you. World famous means it holds up. I can go street walking somewhere and be like, they'll recognize it, like Gucci or something. That's world famous.
Jackie Chan's
world famous. Well, Jackie Chan's world famous. Your little hole in the wall, shawarma place
Duke's
is
Burgers,
not world famous.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You're
not even that good. You're definitely not king. You're not prince. You're barely a noble at this point.
Well, look, dude, and I'll say this to like the hole in the wall places, like the good ones, the
Tommy
mom and
Burger,
pop ones,
Tommy Burger's pretty
the ones
good.
that are like, you're not world famous, but look, you said a bold claim, and like, okay, you're pretty good, but for Burger King to say I'm the king, I'm not buying it, bro.
Yeah, okay, all right. So like, there's some hole in the wall places that if I had friends from out of town, I'd be like, you got to try this place, and it's good. It's not Burger King. I'm not recommending Burger King.
You're still not world famous either.
Dude, that's a place you go when you're hammered, or you're freaking, there's nowhere else around.
Dude, you go to Del Taco. That's where you go. Because I don't know how much they are now, but when I was working there, the tacos were like 69 cents. So you get like 10 of them, 20 of them, whatever.
I was eating one night, and I had friends from Washington in, and I took them to Del Taco because it was 2 a.m. It's the only one that's open next to the college.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm ordering for everyone. We're not doing this whole like, give me Do they have? No. Everybody sit down and shut up in the back seat. I'll order everything. I order the same thing for everybody. Half-pound peanut cheese burrito with sour cream, a Del cheeseburger,
Yeah.
and they had some kind of like spicy nacho like taco or something like that. They had like
Yeah.
it has some good sauce on it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered one, and then I quadrupled the order, and everybody was eating it. And the next day, they all wanted that. And before their flight, the day after that, they were like, "We gotta go there one more time because they don't have
Yeah.
these in Washington."
Dude,
so
on a side note, pretty good burgers. Not bad.
dude,
not bad.
unexpectedly good.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly, they're light.
When I worked there, that was about all I ate.
Yeah,
After
they're good.
making my own Del Tacos version of Crunchwrap, and shenanigans ensued.
Yeah.
It was always just like, I'm gonna make a burger and
combining
fries.
us.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
always
I'd
wanted
always grab like the biggest tortilla and egg, sausage, steak,
that. Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
lettuce, cheese, tomato.
Can I get
Sour
a
cream.
Justin burrito? My homie Justin works here and he made it. Can I get a Justin burrito, bro?
Yeah, you can get a decent nuts burrito if you
Yeah.
want. No,
Well,
dude,
touche.
Before we segue, I did have a couple of drunk people be like, "Can I get an enchilada?" And I'm like, "What do you think you are, dude? You're at American Mexican food."
Dude, I worked at an Italian restaurant, like pretty bougie Italian restaurant.
Quattro Cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
and
remember that. Yeah.
this drunk lady walked in. She was like 40 something. I don't know. She was like with her girlfriends. Like she clearly missed the grow up bus.
Yeah.
She was drunk and she asked for nachos because she just saw, oh, Mexicans in the kitchen. They can make nachos. They could, but
They
you know,
probably could, but they're
the
not
only
going
reason
to now.
the only reason they did it for is because she walked into the kitchen, so it's already like massive violations.
Yeah.
She walked in and she had like blue Sharpie, like Pepe Le Pew mustache on her face, clearly not aware of it. She had that like glass look in her eye where she's just, like completely unaware of whatever's going on. Like, can you guys make me nachos? It's my birthday. You know, just like gone.
Yeah. I'll
And
make
they-
you whatever you
and
want
they were
to get
just
you
like
to leave.
they were just like, see.
That's what it is, dude. It's not yes because it's your birthday. It's please just get out of here. Whatever you want, just take it. Leave us alone. Freaking what was that? Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, for sure. Segue.
Hard segue.
We're talking about gun control.
Yeah. Yep.
No, dude. The real topic isn't gun control because we all know what needs to happen there. The real topic is what would happen if everybody had a gun.
Yeah, that was
Because there's a lot of fierce debate about that. Because most people, when I'm asking that question, they say everyone would shoot everyone. Everyone would get in arguments over nothing and be like, "What'd you say, bro? What'd you say?" Da, 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 da. But that's not really what happens. Even without guns, that's not what happens. Like when people get in little tiffs and arguments, because I see them all the time when people disagreeing and like over parking spots or at the grocery store or whatever. Like people don't come to blows. So what makes you think that they would come to shots? You
yeah.
know?
Well, that was kind of my argument. Was like, I'm gonna run you over with my car, and then you get there and you're like, dude, I'm about to run this person over. Like, same thing with shooting. Like, if you never, let's say you have shot a gun. Let's say you know about guns, but you never shot somebody. It's a whole different thing to actually be in front of somebody, pointing a gun at them and saying, I'm now going to shoot this person. Like, that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, I did see this video the other day of a cop, like his like body cam footage, and he like shot somebody, and like he like walked away. It was like instantly like in emotional distress, like kind of choking back tears and being like, "What f, dude? Like, why didn't he just?" He's like clearly bothered by it, right? Like it was like his first shooting or something like that.
So, what was the context?
They didn't really show the video of the shooting, but it was just him after the shooting, and like he basically was saying like, why did he do that? Why did he do that? What, like I didn't want to shoot him, and like he was just like having to take a breather and walking around like he just found out his like child died or something. I don't know. That's what it sounded like from his like
From what you
emotional
could
state of
gather.
mind.
Yeah.
And like basically it's not what's gonna happen when somebody pulls the trigger. It's what would people do? How would people act if everybody knew in the store or in public that everybody was packing or most people were packing? I'm sure people just, I'm not gonna take my gun out today. Just like you're just not going to. But
Well, that's what
A lot
the
of people would have it
popular
on their holster.
that's the popular podcasts that I watch all kind of say the same thing. Like the thing that keeps the cops out of your house, or the reason that they proceed with more caution is because they have no idea if you have a gun or not. And I think it would be safe to assume that, let's just say, national headline: government's just it's your Second Amendment right, so we're going to provide everybody. And now everyone has guns. I think a lot more people would exercise extra caution. I mean,
Yeah, cops are kind of weird, dude. Like I had cops come to my door like a month ago, 2 months ago, and they were like, "Hey, it's I guess like, I guess Caitlin didn't go to work and like no call no showed or something. She was
yeah,
like sick or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, but they were like, "Hey, is Caitlin here?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "What's this about?" He's like, "Well, why don't you come outside? We can talk about it." I was like, "Am I in trouble?" They're like, "No, I'm good here then. I'm good.
yeah.
I'm good inside."
You know that
Yeah, this
they
is my
can't
house.
they can't do
Yeah.
anything if you don't come outside.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
thing,
I
right?
was like,
Yeah, yeah,
well, I don't know if they were even trying to do anything. They just didn't know what was happening to her. So, as far as they were concerned, they're like, I don't even know if this guy's involved or not. But I was like, if I haven't done anything, I'm good in my house. Thank you very
Innocent
much.
until proven guilty.
Like, it wasn't even me like exercising my right or whatever. It's like, I don't want to come outside in my shorts and tank top and talk to you guys with all my neighbors watching and being like, what did he do? Like, you know what I mean? I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what this is. I'm already being nice. I saw you guys. Hey, officers, how's it going? What's going on? 3 guys, uniformed officers at my door. I'm like, what the hell is this about?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like me being like a jerk or anything. It's just like, you know, my whole point is that like you don't want mob justice with like guns and stuff. You don't want, you don't want people taking the law into their own hands and stuff. Like if everybody had a gun, disputes would be settled before the cops even get there to settle it. But my point is that the whole reason you need the cops is why. Why do we need cops?
Mediation.
Like third-party mediation?
Yeah, I think.
And I'm not asking like, why do we need? I'm asking like
no.
open-ended. Like, why? So why do people assume that we need the cops in the first place? And instantly from growing up within the system, I think, okay, because they deal with crackheads and they deal with all this stuff that I don't have time to deal with. I'm at work or something.
Yeah.
If somebody's
Well-
breaking in, I don't know what they're doing. I want to call a cop. But if I had a gun,
Yeah, that's the other thing
You
I was
know.
going to say. So since not everyone is armed, right? You need to protect the vulnerable. So you need to protect the people who can't protect themselves,
right?
and not literally like, oh, I'm gangly and weak. It's like maybe I'm not physically strong, or maybe I'm just of a smaller stature, or maybe I don't have the confidence to confront somebody.
What if some big 6'6" bulldog dude is like running amok in a store or something, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna tackle him, But if I had a gun,
That'd be
I'm not
equal,
waiting.
like,
I'm not calling the cops. I'm just, hey,
Yeah. What are you
hey,
doing?
buddy,
Yeah.
look what I have in my hand. Let's,
Leave.
yeah.
It's time. It's time to
It's
go.
time to no. It's time to sit down. Yeah, it's time to sit down. But that's what I'm saying is like, I look at how most people behave in society, and most people aren't. They're not takers. They're not cutting people off. There are those people. They're not cutting people off. They're not taking their spot. They're just operating and getting along in the system. And I
Mhm.
don't think arming everybody would disrupt that balance. I think the majority of people, if they saw that dude running amok, I wouldn't be the only one pulling my gun. It'd be like 6 of us, like you.
If it was a normal cultural thing, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But because we've been like disabused of guns for so long, especially in California, that like we're just not wired for that. If we see a gun, it's weird to us because we don't see them.
Yeah.
But if you saw them every day and saw as they didn't hurt anybody, like if you saw people with guns every day and never heard shots, maybe like once a year,
Mhm.
you wouldn't be scared. You'd be like, yeah, that's very rare. It rarely happens. They're just like just like plane crashes.
Yeah.
They don't really get televised. They happen all the time. If you look them up, like I don't know, I might want to look it up right now, but like there's hundreds of plane crashes every year, but you never hear about them. You get on the plane, you never. If you're freaking out, people think you're funny. They're like, dude, that's irrational
Yeah,
to be
you're just on
afraid.
a- you're
Don't
just
worry,
on a
nothing's
plane.
gonna happen.
Well,
Yeah.
and to your point about guns, like I have a different attitude about it. And so my neighbor has a gun, like he's a security guard, and he has a gun and everything. And I'm like, that's great, dude. I know who I'm going to if something goes down here. I'm going right next door, being like, hey, bro, some stuff's going down, right? You looking that up?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's reflecting this decrease in miles flown, preliminary estimates of the total number of accidents involving a U.S. registered civilian aircraft over 1,000.
Per year.
Over 1,000. Yeah.
Okay. So here's
That's
the
just in
question.
the
though.
United States.
But here's the question. Which planes are crashing?
Yeah, it's
So
a U.S.
private planes
registered
too?
civilian aircraft.
Okay.
So
So when they say civilian, are they also taking into account like airline aircrafts, like what do they call them, car buses or
Those are
whatever?
commercial planes. So
Okay, so you're looking at the commercial planes.
345 annually.
Okay.
Well, wait. Last 5 years, there have been an average of 14. So
14 per year.
14 in the last 5 years.
Okay.
345 deaths. So that's not that bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. But there's a... Okay. Yeah. That changes my mind a little bit. But...
Well, that's the one thing I've always heard is that you're more likely to get struck by lightning than well, maybe the point is that you're far less likely to die in a plane crash than other things.
You're far less likely to get shot with a gun, too, probably.
I guess that the problem with like statistics and all this other stuff is if you take it from all of America, it totally skews all the statistics.
Yeah, there's all kinds of considerations you need to make. But there... Okay, so let's ask a meta question then.
Okay.
Okay, so it's obvious and known that all the hotspots of like gun violence are like the most restrictive in terms of gun control, like Chicago, New York, LA. Like these all have like really strict gun control, and yet there's high abundance of gun crime.
Yeah.
So my question is, would there be more crime if you allowed guns, or would there be less crime if you allowed guns? Because that's an unknown factor, right? Because
Yeah.
you can say like, well, look at all the places with no gun control. There's no crime. Yeah, but there are different types of people, different cultures.
It's a way different culture.
Right. So
it's
you
right.
can't just say like this one factor will change everything. Like it could be that we allow everybody to have guns in Chicago and then the gun crime increases. Maybe briefly while they kill each other off.
That's what I was gonna say. My question would be this: if we had let's just take it all away, no gun restrictions. Anybody can get a gun who's of age. I think it would exponentially increase and then exponentially decrease.
Yes, I agree. I kind of think it's akin to if you taped everybody's hands together, theft would go down.
Yeah.
But not really in the low theft areas because like they never had a problem with it in the first place because those are those kind of people, like they just don't steal.
But I think so. My point in saying I think it would equalize eventually. I think the criminals wouldn't care at first because they're like, you're not going to use a gun on me. I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And then after, let's say 2 years, I think after 2 years, I think it would start to decrease.
I think it would be much faster than that.
And that's based on nothing.
I think it would be much faster than that. I think a lot of people wouldn't get guns and don't want guns because they're the kind of people that can't defend themselves. They're not confrontational people.
You'd have to change the culture.
For instance, dude, like I had a problem with this for a while. Like I would inject myself into conflicts that had nothing to do with me because they were public areas, like people fighting in a 7-Eleven or something. And I'd be like, whoa, buddy, whoa. Like I had no business being there. But I was just kind of like, hey, dude, like, you guys are doing this, and you think, like, you are involved, but you're in a public space right now, and I'm involved now because I'm not just going to allow this to happen, right? But there are also people who just, like, walk by and let it happen.
Yeah, I'm just going to get my chips.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with me. Let that or whatever. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe it's my problem.
My question is, do you think society as a whole would be better if more people were more willing to intervene in conflict in public areas?
Yes, I think guns in general would lower crime. Yes,
but I'm not like guns included, but just in general, right? Like when a fight's going down, just like you were saying, like, hey man, like I don't know what you guys are fighting over. You're in a 7-Eleven. This can't be worth what's going on right now. I think I agree with you. I think it would be better if more people were willing to just take a little bit of a stance and just say, hey, we don't need to do this here. We don't need to do this right now.
Or maybe this, dude. Maybe like I have always wanted there to be like return to Coliseum. Like, hold on, let me tell you my full story.
Go
Full
ahead.
pitch. All right.
Yep. Let me hear it.
Full pitch. Instead of incarceration, you have the ability to commute your sentence if you agree to fight in the Coliseum. Okay, so this is a threefold benefit. One, you're already a violent person, so here you go. Here, do violence, right? Two, they're all willing combatants. Three, you can sell tickets to the event and offset their cost of incarcerating them and prosecuting them. So like it saves us as the public money. You guys get a commuted sentence if you win. You have to win 10 bouts. Say that. You have to win 10 full bouts. Like it could be battle royale. It could be one-on-one. It could be themed, you know? like
like a Star Wars theme.
yeah, like stormtroopers versus Jedi, and the Jedi all have like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like you could theme it
Yeah.
and stuff and
Oh
sell
yeah,
tickets
totally.
and stuff, and it's all willing combatants, and people actually die, and you know, the only problem is I can see people being coerced into doing that. They're like, yeah, I got a 20-year sentence, which means I got to win 20 bouts. You know, like 20, one bout, 1 year, basically.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm not, and I'm not some crazy psychopath. I'm not totally opposed to that. But again, with any idea like that, the problem would be the manipulation and coercion that goes involved with it. Because that I could totally see like the guards like, yeah, I want to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
these two guys fight. Let's get them.
But that already happens.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do bets on it and stuff. That already happens. So like the thing is like
That's the
the other
problem. That's my,
consideration is
yeah.
I don't want to be part of a society that glorifies violence and stuff. I'm like, well, it's a bit late for that. So
Yeah.
you
Have
know,
you seen Die Hard?
no, it's you don't even have to go that far back. Like, have you seen what gets clicks nowadays? And the
That you're right. That's a better
So-
example. Like I always hear about like why police brutality videos got propped up and things of that nature because they got the clicks.
because anger is scientifically proven to be like the number one motivator for people continuing to watch. Like it's
Yeah.
the easiest emotion to elicit out of somebody. Think of it this way: it's hard to get somebody to love you. It's easy to get somebody to hate you. Very easy.
Yeah, that's really,
very
yeah.
easy to get somebody to hate you, right?
Yeah.
So like if you show them something they dislike, it's very easy to elicit a strong anger emotion, which gets them to want to consume more of that media. In a weird irony, like
Yeah,
you
that's-
would think that if it makes you angry, you don't want to see anymore, but it actually engages you because you're, in my opinion, you're subconsciously waiting for the justice aspect of it. You've been angered, wronged, and you're waiting for the justice. Like if you're watching somebody like sucker punch somebody on the street, you're like, well, is somebody gonna get this guy?
Yeah.
And now you want to see, it like resolve.
Yeah, that's why you
So-
need that cultural shift. Actually, because I'm the opposite. I don't like watching any that's my biggest problem with Twitter. Not all of YouTube because there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube, but Twitter and Instagram and whatever else social media, like they prop up all this BS that I just don't want to see.
I have a problem with that too, dude. And even when I was younger, like I know I've mentioned this before, but I have a problem with like glorification of infidelity and like the normalization of that. Like it's well, of course he cheated. Is this and this? I'm like, actually, that's an unacceptable behavior. Like no matter what. So
Yeah,
you know,
100. I totally
and so,
agree.
yeah. So it actually, I don't like watching it, and I like it makes me mad to a point where it's like it feels like there are some subjects that feel like they are just like trash to consume. And I'm not talking about like the useless stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that's actually culturally bad. And it's like I don't really want to watch this. It like you ever be put in a weird spot when all those beheadings videos and stuff came up out of ISIS and stuff. I saw a few of them and it made me so freaking mad that I like either wanted to go over there and do something about it or to stop watching it because it put me in a weird spot where I'm like, that's a human being that you're like pulling his head back after cutting his throat and like letting him like spill out and
Yeah,
stuff. And I'm
gnarly,
like, it's
dude.
a freaking human being, dude. That dude has like friends and family that might see this and you're treating him like a hog or something. Like
Yeah,
I got like in a weird headspace, you know?
dude, that's why
Or like, sorry, go ahead.
I have mentioned this before. I dial back a lot of the stuff. Like I really like staying up on politics. I like to know what's going on. But like, there's a lot of times that I'm like, nope, I'm getting too wrapped up. I'm getting in a weird headspace. Everything's pissing me off. I immediately think everything. Like my wife is watching something, and I'm like, that's propaganda. They're trying to get you. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
she's like, dude, I'm just trying to watch a show. And I'm like, yeah, I've been watching too much politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like cartel videos and stuff too. Like I've seen if people will send them to me and I'm like that black guy, dude, with they
Yeah,
put the
that was
fireworks
F,
in his
dude.
mouth and lit his fireworks and blew his jaw off. I'm like, dude, like you just ruined that guy's whole life because he was like high and didn't know what he was doing. And you took advantage of that. And now
Yeah, and it's
like,
your
now,
fault.
Now this is happening. And like, it just put me in a weird headspace, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, freaking.
Dude, that's why
Like-
social media is, dude. It's the same arguments for cell phones. They're good tools, right? Like I was talking to my friend Steve about Twitter, and I was like, Twitter's garbage, and everything about it's garbage. He's like, it's good marketing. I'm like, that's the only thing it would be good for if it was used for that. It's like Instagram, right? Like I don't think Instagram is as corrupt as Twitter, but I don't use it to keep up with my friends and family. I use it to find new bands.
I
Like,
use it,
it's just-
yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff on Instagram. There's a lot of cool photographers and like engineering tips and stuff that are like,
it's definitely
or
not as
like
corrupt as
woodwork
Twitter.
art and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twitter is definitely more siloed. But I just think that like guns, like if everybody had a gun tomorrow, there would be some purge incidents, but
Hmm.
that would like flush out really fast, you know.
Well,
And it would
dude,
be left with people who
it's
just don't.
also, they always say, like, I don't know if I've personally met any like more liberal types who have been exposed to guns and changed their mind, but I've certainly seen a lot of videos where they're totally against guns, and then they go out to the firing range. They get like, here's how you use it. Here's how we like properly do things. Like, we're not just out on the shooting range just pointing guns everywhere. Like, we have procedures. We really like, if somebody points a gun at somebody, like, we really shut that down. Like, I'm phrasing it wrong, but it's really
Yeah.
shunned upon. Like, hey, you don't mess around here. So my point is, when the liberal types who get exposed to gun culture, like real gun culture, people who respect firearms, like their minds are changed, and I think doing something like that would have a good cultural impact. Like, be exposed to guns, learn how to use them, learn what people who use guns think like, and I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like in all these like high gun control areas, like there is no gun exposure. Period. So
Yeah,
if you even hear about somebody owning, it's rare when somebody says I own a gun. I'm like, oh, a fellow gun, you know.
yeah,
But
a fellow
I'm
Gunnian.
always like, this used to be normal. You used to have like a shotgun in the closet and nothing happened.
Yeah,
You know. So why is it? You know, I wonder if it's just like cultural conditioning where people
that's
just
exactly what it is, dude. In my, like, this is all just opinion, no stats here. I think tragedies happen, and they're really terrible when they do happen, like when the kids get to the guns or something. But it's not
yeah.
about locking up the guns. It's about teaching your kids to respect the weapon. Teach them how to use it.
Yeah, that's like these like school shootings and stuff. Like, I really, I really see those as like not about I want to go shoot everybody up, but more about like I like you know how people they're suicidal, but not in a way like I just want to die. They're like I want to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Different kind of
Yeah.
suicidal thing. It's like I don't want to like fade away. I want to like vent my I don't know disassociation or
Well, and
something.
a lot of people think it's I want to be famous too.
I'm not sure if that's I want to be famous
I don't
because
know if
then
that
you
is either.
can't
I just
bask in the fame. It's like I want to be infamous or like
yeah,
like I'll show you kind of thing.
that's my thing. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know how much there is to the fame thing, but I do agree with, like, maybe talk about it, but never mention the name. Never show his face. Like, you don't get to be shown or talked about publicly. Like, as far as your name goes, like, just call him that guy. You
yeah,
you know what I mean though.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you did something terrible, and there should be nothing good about it
I mean,
for
it's pretty
you.
much the same story every time, right? It's always like a red flag individual who has issues, and they're like kind of like this "I'll show you" I'll show you world
Mm-hmm.
mentality, and it like has nothing to do with like the victims. It has to do with like making a mark kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what they were saying. I was watching Tim Pool the other day. I don't remember who said it, but somebody was saying you shouldn't promote that this is a gun-free zone. You should at least lie about it and say everybody's armed. If you're not going to arm everybody, at least lie about it. This is not a safe place for you to come.
Yeah, I've heard some other really good talking points about like how they, you know, we protect our money with guns, we protect our politicians with
Yeah,
guns,
that was
but we
another point.
protect our kids with fences. You know, and it's like it's a good point.
Yeah, dude,
It's,
and that's part of the reason why I still live in the city that I live in.
I get,
Because
yeah, it's true. I get like, well, some people don't have the opportunity to do that, but I also believe that like I don't think poverty creates crime because if poverty created crime, then Wall Street would be squeaky clean.
yeah,
You know, and so
good
like
point.
I just don't think that that's what causes it. I but I do understand people got to live where they got to live, and I just like how does a neighborhood go from crappy to good? How does that happen? How does that transition happen? Because I looked over the last 30 years and like neighborhoods go to crap and neighborhoods gentrify and like which how does that happen, you know?
I have
And
no idea.
I'm not sure it has to do I think it has to do with a certain kind of people moving in or out and they like either are into yard work and improving their home or they're into like not doing anything. Like I drove down the street the other day and I saw uh, the left side had all these like McMansions and stuff on it,
Yeah.
and the right side had just like normal like not bungalow houses, but definitely 1960s, 70s like one story, one car garage kind of like houses, and like I was like, okay, so like a bunch of people moved into this neighborhood, who I mean, as far as it was in Westminster, so it's probably like kind of probably Asian people moved in,
Mm-hmm.
made some money, and then were building up their neighborhood because they're all in the same community, so they're probably all talking about like, oh, like so and so's doing this, so and so, oh, that's a good idea, so and so's doing that, and they're all building up.
Yes.
And then the people that already lived there, they're not those kind of people. So they're just like, yeah, I bought my house and I just do my thing, and I'm not into improving my land and that's fine too. I'm just saying that it has nothing to do with like the race of people. It has to do with like the mindset of people. Like
Yeah.
I am one of those people that when whenever I have a place, I want to improve it. I want to, even little things like I want to paint a wall, or I want to redo the floor. And if I had a land, I'd be like, dude, I would love to build like a detached garage to where I can put like stuff in it and put my car,
Yeah.
like, and I would definitely be mowing the lawn and like, or like curating some kind of lawn. I wouldn't just leave it for the weeds. And like, but
I want it to be nice.
other cultures aren't like that. Other cultures are like, why would I waste money on the lawn? It's just a lawn. And it's like, it is, I'm not sure if that's like, I'm not sure if we're like oversimplifying why neighborhoods go to crap or whatever, but I do know that gentrification could be a bad thing and a good thing. It can be used terribly, but it overall for the residents of the area, the owners of the area, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I also think that people need a stake in their communities, and we need more ownership of land, or like ways to own things. Like I don't like I don't know what the solution is, but there needs to be some kind of solution where you can't just rent out 50 apartments. Like you have to rent to own or something like that, because if people owned their stuff, they would be way more attached to their community, because they'd be like, I got $200,000 in this community in my 2-bedroom apartment, or however much it's worth, right?
Yeah.
So they would be more inclined to be like, I have a big chunk of change invested into this community, and like I care about what goes on. I care about the crime down the street because it's right next to my $200,000 like life savings, and so it matters to me. But if I just don't own anything, then it's like, you know.
Yeah, you know what? It's really hard for me. I got to slip out of that renter's mindset all the time, because obviously I'm a renter, and so there's a lot of times that I'm like, I don't care. I don't own this place. Like
Yeah.
I do. Me and my wife do try to make the house look nice. We try to keep everything clean. We try to keep it all copacetic. Like, oh, it looks good aesthetically. But sometimes it's really hard to be like, I'm making this nice for somebody else.
Yeah, dude. I just had this conversation because like there's like a laminate flooring in my place when I want tile or some kind of better laminate flooring with like a really good underlay.
Something nice.
But I'm not going to do any kind of meaningful improvement because I'm not going to recuperate that money. I'm just going to enjoy it. So like the whole point of redoing the floor is like, one, I get to enjoy it, but then I also recuperate the cost because it goes into my property value, but
Yeah.
it's not my property value. So I'm not going to improve it. And it's kind of like, I care about the community, but not as much as if I own property there, because like there's some kind of like mindset of deeper roots when you own it.
Yeah, dude. That's what I was telling my son that the other day. He threw a piece of trash on the floor. I'm like, dude, we live here. Go pick that up. Like you should care about the place you live, right? And like the problem with this is a big complex, and it's nice, but they got people who clean stuff up, and so there's dog crap everywhere. I find trash everywhere. It's like, maybe if you owned it, you'd have more respect
Yeah.
for it. 100%.
So let's circle back to cops then, because I think that that's a delegation of responsibility when you hire police. And don't get me wrong, it's sometimes it's necessary, because I don't want to track down crackheads. I don't want to, like, I'm not talking about detectives. Like, I'm not talking about detectives like investigating serious crimes and finding the culprits and bringing justice. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like patrolling, dealing with crackheads, dealing with homeless people, dealing with like riffraff,
Dude, it's
domestic
like
violence.
sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but you do need specialization, right? It's just like the detox. Like I work at a detox,
Yeah.
and so I'm good at getting people through that process. But I had to learn how to do that. I had to take time away from my family, and so obviously I get paid for that. But that's the same thing as the cops. Like you want somebody who specializes in dealing with situations, right? Like if I don't ever find myself in sketchy situations, I'm not going to be the best one at dealing with
Yeah.
it. But if you as a cop have to deal with it every day, if you were a good cop, presumably you would know how to deal with these situations and mitigate it. And you
I,
do want
I get
that.
what you're saying, but that's exactly what I'm pointing out. It's a
Yeah.
difference of responsibility. So, for instance, I don't have to deal with helping somebody through rehab or something because there's a rehab to push them in. I
Yeah.
defer that responsibility to them, and there's benefits to that. I'm also saying that there's benefits of deferring the responsibility to cops, but there's also a cost to that,
Right.
right? Because now they have a monopoly on violence. So, like,
Yeah.
by that I mean, like, I can't just go assault somebody if they're doing something wrong because I'm gonna get charged, right? Even though I
So
could be in the right, I'm
yeah.
stopping them, and
So
that might get hashed out, you know,
yeah.
through the justice system or whatever. But I'm also deferring the responsibility of a mindset of like, well, it's not my job to deal with that. Call the cops; they'll be here. It's
Yeah.
like,
So what my takeaway from what you're saying is it's just like community building. It's just like having property. Like you care about it because you're involved in it, and it would be the same thing if you didn't have the police. You'd care more because presumably you'd know your neighbors and you'd want to be more
I'd
involved in
care
it.
more
Yeah.
because
Because now I have
because
to.
the neighborhood watch aspect would like. So, for instance, the logical end to a police force is how to make them more effective. Have one on every corner. Now you're in a police state,
Yeah.
right? And now there's overbearance. There's not a. It could be their community. It might not be. They might not live in Huntington Beach. They might live in Westminster, or they might live in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might not be members of this community. I'm just a faceless number to them. So like there's what I'm saying is like the logical, efficient end to a police force is one on every corner. Now you're in a police state, and now you have overbearance where you're getting in trouble for things that aren't really crimes. You're having to like tiptoe and stuff, and that's the other end of it. That's the end that I don't want to be on.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and to your
I don't
point,
want to get stopped. It's just like, why are you parked here? Because I'm parked here.
yeah, you don't
You
need
know,
to investigate it. So what I was going to say is I watched this YouTube channel called Audit the Audit. You know what auditors are, right? Like the First
yeah,
Amendment auditors,
yeah,
and say they go out and just see if their rights are being
yeah.
protected or whatever. The good interactions are usually in the small towns, right? They go out and the cops are just like, "Hey, man, let's like, what's going on? Oh, you're just doing this thing, all right? Later, like I don't care." But the bad interactions are in the big cities where it's like, "Well, you can't be doing this here." And it's like, why? Why do you even care what I'm doing? I'm literally doing nothing.
Why is that?
That mentality, because they don't know each other. Like, oh, that was my point. I'm sorry. The good interactions are in the small communities where the cops are invested. The cops live in the city and they know the people that are there, and therefore
Mm.
you get a little bit more benefit of the doubt. You get a little bit more like, okay, well, this is Billy Bob's son, and I know Billy Bob, and I know his son, and okay, he jaywalked, can't be doing that, but it's like, hey, just don't do that again, right? That kind of deal where it's like, this isn't a big deal. We don't need to do a whole call the squad, put you in handcuffs because something minor, right?
Yeah, and
I got another example too.
that's another thing about deference of responsibility. Like, say it was me, who would be invested in the community, and me and four other passersby see this bad thing happening, where he's like going around the parking lot, jimmying handles to see if a car is unlocked, and it's
Mhm.
like, it's not, hey man, what are you doing? Why don't you sit down? It's like, hey, we all see what you're doing right now. Ain't happening.
Yeah, we don't do that
It's
here.
not happening. Yeah. So, like, just so you know, like everybody in this community's looking out. We know who you are and stuff. We don't like,
So
know.
my other example was from when I was 16. So this would be an example of where it would be good to have a small community with a police force that lives in the city that knows the community. Obviously, our city's giant, so they can't know everybody. So it would be beneficial for it to be smaller. I hopped the wall to get onto the Shields house, and a cop saw me, and they called like 5 cops, right? And they all came into the backyard. And what are you doing in here? Are you stealing stuff? And I'm like, do you see my picture on the wall, dude? I live here. Like, that wouldn't have happened if this was a small community with a police force that lived in the city that got to know its community. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's Nick. He's going home. You know what I mean?
5 cop cars.
Dude, yeah, there was 3 on this side and there was 2 on this side. Yeah, so there was like 5 or 6 cops that came into the backyard. They didn't even knock on the front door. I was in the house, and the only reason I knew that they were in the backyard is because the dog started barking, and so I go downstairs and I'm like, why are you guys in my backyard right now? And they were like, well, what are you doing here? We saw you hop in the wall. And I'm like, it's because I live here. That's why I'm in this house.
Well, okay. So let's be intellectually honest and see the other side to it.
Oh, yeah.
The reason there's probably very few crime is because they tamp down, right?
No.
And it's
Well,
like
dude, sorry. Go ahead.
does it take that to get rid of that amount of crime? Like, does it take that much overwhelming force to get rid of crime, or is there some other way? Because I feel like as a criminal, if I wanted to do something, like I would I would be savvy to that and figure out ways around. It's almost like the criminals are always like one step ahead, and they're like you know how scams work. Like they try a scam for a while, like the old like I'm African prince, blah 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 blah. And once
Uh-huh.
that stopped working, they say your car warranty's almost up, or like
Oh,
another one was popular a few years ago was, hey, I'm from the IRS. Oh yeah, you're from the IRS.
yeah.
And they're like, in 24 hours, if you don't send us money, we're gonna send a warrant for your arrest and stuff. I'm sure that worked on a lot of people.
Well, dude, there's other scams too. Like Leah, she didn't almost get scammed. To say she almost got scammed wouldn't be fair to her. There was someone who tried to scam her. So she was getting ready to sell one of her old phones, and they were like, "Oh, we'll do Zelle." And she's like, me and her were already skeptical, and they did Zelle. They're like, "Oh, we need your email." I'm like, "That's funny because it says I just did Zelle the other day with my friend, and it only needed my phone number." So I gave her the email, and then they were like, "Oh, did you get the email from Zelle?" And so basically, what it was a fake email from Zelle that said, "Oh, they're sending too much money. What was it? They're sending too much money, and so you need to
Refund them.
do the login stuff, and they're gonna send you. They were gonna give us, let's just say $1,000. They're gonna send you 1,500, and then you need to send them 500 back." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not. No, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. Sorry, cash only." But I already sent you. It was hilarious, dude. They were like, "Oh, I already sent the money. I don't have my money." I'm like, and I just straight up said, "That sounds like a you problem. Bye, cash only."
Yeah.
But the point is, like,
it happens a lot.
like this is what I tell people about the city we live in. Well, we live in Huntington, don't matter. I live in Huntington Beach, California. I do tell them like I like living here. I don't like that the cops do what they do, but I also like that they do what they did with me. Right? I didn't get arrested. They didn't put me in handcuffs. They didn't do none of that stuff. But they were like, they sent the whole force to get this one kid, and like that's why the city's so safe because they don't dick around. And so I don't like it, but I also do like it because my son can walk down to 7-Eleven, and I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I don't think that if you're a felon, you should just not have a gun. I don't really understand that. I don't really understand the ping where people say, "Well, you did something bad, so you don't deserve a gun." And it's like, all right, well, why is that?
Not ever.
Yeah, like why is that? I understand like somebody committing violence or something, but the thing is, like, if everybody was armed, you wouldn't have to worry about them being armed.
Well, here's my thing, too. Here's my thing. Like, whenever I hear the phrase "people can't change," I'm like, BS, bro. Total BS. I see it every single day. Like, and you and me are proof of that. Like, I totally changed.
Yeah.
Dude, I was a delinquent alcoholic who did nothing good in life, and I'm a completely different person than I was 6 years ago.
Dude, I was just talking about like Austin Brown passed away or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't know him that well I knew him well in like 08, 09. I knew all three brothers pretty well. And
Was Austin the one that was in my grade?
No, he's in my grade.
Okay. He had
Parker
a little brother.
was in
He
your
had a
grade.
little brother.
Parker
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in your grade and Garrett
Right.
was one lower than him.
Okay.
Anyway, the point is like I didn't know him that well. I just knew that like they kind of ran amok a little bit, like no different than you or me. But like that doesn't mean I'm like happy anybody passed away or anything. Like I'm sure he was different, just like I'm different. Like everybody can change. Like just because they did bad things, like everybody's on a journey to change. And like we figure out life sometimes at 15, 20, 30. Some people figure it out when they're 50 and they're like, dang.
Dude,
like, I've seen people change their lives at 55 and they're sitting there and they're like, I wasted my life. I'm like, yeah, you did.
Don't waste the rest of it.
Yeah, but at least you know now, right?
Yeah.
At least you know now. But like, you should. The look in his eyes, dude, when he said that, I was like, that is a true transformation. Because he was just like, I wasted so much. Like, he's happy that he had the time now to like do what he had to do, but he was just like, I wasted so much time in like the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
But he was that remorse is like proof of purchase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
Do you remember Justin Quarez?
Yeah.
Dude, that guy got married and is like going to church and all this other stuff. Like he was working at a pot store and he quit that. Like, and this is no disrespect. These are just facts. Like he was just like kind of a nerd, a little bit like he just gamed a whole bunch. He didn't really care what people thought about him. That was all great. And now like, then he was on tour with a band and now he's just like this Christian dude who's just living in Fountain Valley. Like, dude, you wouldn't even recognize. I went to his wedding.
Nice. Good for him, dude.
But that's what I mean. Like people can't. So to bring it full circle back to felons, why can't they have guns?
Yeah, I mean, I get like this idea of well, you have a track record, so like where it's not safe to give you a gun. I'm like, well, not really. I know a lot of felons. I'd rather have guns than people without felonies, who just haven't. I see this a million times. Like when people give me crap for having DUI, you, the difference between me and you is I got caught. That's the difference.
Basically.
That's the difference. Okay. The difference between a lot of people, like, there's a lot of people that just never got picked up by the system or whatever. There's like people who capable of way worse evil and just all kinds of problems that shouldn't have guns, and it's like the felony thing is not a good like net to cast.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Should every single person have a gun? Man,
Well, that's where the problem with the debate comes down to, because once you start saying things like, should everybody have a gun? No, then it's like, well, where does it end? That's the problem.
Yeah, it
doesn't end.
It doesn't end. Yeah, it won't either. There will be all kinds of like caveats of like, well, if this person feels this way, then I wouldn't feel safe them having a gun. And it's like, I don't feel safe for you having a gun. I don't feel safe for you having a gun because you voted for this person, and that means that means you don't have your head screwed on tight or whatever.
It would get ridiculous.
It would get ridiculous, and that's the whole point of the whole gun control thing. Is like I don't consider a gun any more lethal than allowing somebody to get behind a wheel who sucks at driving and barrel a 4,000-pound vehicle down the street while I'm on the same road. I just don't.
Well, dude, and the thing is as far as being lethal goes, dude, I could grab anything in this room and kill you with it. Seriously, like the guitar, this thing that the camera's sitting on, I could kill you with any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's dude, that's hard to argue with, because honestly, like, I guess the real hang up for everybody is like, if somebody, okay, I don't want people pulling a gun on me because they, like, there's a time to pull a gun, and people usually don't reach that proper time. They pull it way before, right?
Yeah.
They pull it like you're shouting at me, I'm pulling my gun, and it's like, you escalated it.
Yeah, we're having a tiff right now. We're not having a confrontation. Right, this is a tiff.
Let's hash this out. Does it escalate the situation when you pull a gun? 100%. If somebody's pointing a cannon at me, I'm instantly like alert. I'm literally instantly thinking about how to take it away from them.
Yeah.
I'm not
how to survive. I'm
not thinking I'm going to comply. I'm thinking like, okay, I either run or try to take it away from them, or do something, or neutralize them or something, because you're pointing something. Yeah, like I'm literally a finger trigger away from like dying.
That's why everybody needs guns.
Because if I had one, they probably wouldn't pull it, right? Because
it
would be like, and they would see it on my hip, and it would just be like, and it ain't no Wild West thing of like, oh, I got a faster draw than you, like. Unless you practice.
Maybe I'm giving people too much benefit of the doubt. But I really think that if I was in a confrontation with somebody and we both had guns, like non-concealed guns, I personally would think to myself, I'm going to move on from this. This isn't worth it.
It'd definitely be more polite. It wouldn't even escalate to that point. It's like...
No, you're right, dude. It's like we were saying about community. You cut somebody off because you're never going to see them again. Yeah, F you. I don't care. But... the minute you both roll into the same place and park at the same spot, well, now we got to deal with it.
Yeah, that is a good point, dude. Like, so think of the most vicious, violent, like evil places in the world, and the first one that comes to mind to me is an internet chat board, an anonymous internet chat board, right?
Yeah.
So where there's no repercussion, no consequence for anything you say, people say the most heinous, evil shit to people they don't even know, right? So
yeah,
like,
bad.
Right. But the more accountability you have, the more consequence you have, the more polite you are to everybody. Even the right? So
yeah.
I can't think of something more accountable than if I waste this dude with my cannon, there's 10 people here that are going to hear the shots and instantly point theirs at me.
Yeah.
It's not... I could be a faster draw than him, but it's everybody else around me too.
Yeah, if everybody had guns.
If everybody
had
guns,
exactly.
Right?
Well, and that's kind of the point where we're kind of trying to drill here, is that I might kill this guy. And yeah, now the conflict's over. But now there's a group of people who just heard it and it's like, this guy's down and this guy's not.
Yeah.
Now there's 10 of us and one of you. So maybe think twice before either one of you pulls that gun.
And that's not a calculation that needs to happen every single confrontation. That's a calculation that happens as soon as the law goes into place, and everybody's just self-aware of that. That's not something that I recalibrate every single time. I'm like, I might be able to shoot him. It's a something that's ingrained in your head. Like, once I pull this smoke wagon, it's.
Yes. Yes.
So if we had to say it at some point in this
Yes.
podcast, right?
Yeah.
Once I pull this gun, that's it. Then 4 guns are going to be drawn on me.
Well,
because they don't know the situation, they're going to draw on me instantly. If I see somebody pointing a gun at somebody else, I'm drawing my weapon.
Dude, to your point, I see a bunch of potential conflicts every single day and nothing happens. Like somebody's going too slow in the grocery aisle, or, like I think you said this the other day, somebody walking in the middle of the parking lot. If I had a gun and he had a gun, it wouldn't turn into a conflict. This guy's annoying me, but not enough to where I'm just like, it's conflict time because we have guns now. Like, I just don't think it would go down that way.
It wouldn't, and I think the lack of consequence for confrontation is what causes more confrontation. For instance, some old man was like playing the old man card. I was in the grocery store aisle the other day. It's always freaking grocery store, dude. And he was like, had his basket, and he was like, I guess I wasn't forward enough in the. There's somebody in front of me at the cashier. There was me with my stuff and him with his basket, and he was like tapping me with the basket, like touching me. One I looked over, I'm like, okay, he's probably just senile, whatever. But I refused to move. I just let it hit me, and I was just like, nope, not yielding, right? Like, because now you did that. No, you're gonna have to get to the point where I know you're doing it on purpose.
You're gonna have to say something.
So yeah,
Somebody's gonna have to say
I
something.
I moved because the other guy moved, and now I'm paying, and he did it again, and I just look over, and I'm like, if that touches me again, there's gonna be a problem. And like he played like I said it super calm like that. I wasn't being mean. I was just like, dude, if you don't, if that touches me again, there's gonna be a problem. That's literally all I said, and I wasn't mad dogging. I was just like, just matter of fact, man, that's what's gonna happen. And like, he tried to play this like I'm senile, I'm dumb thing, because I think I kind of disarmed him with that.
Yeah.
Like he didn't. I don't think he knew I was even gonna say anything, or I don't know what it was. But
Dude,
my point is like, a lot of people are waiting for the dude to step out of line or whatever. They're kind of waiting for it.
Yeah.
Does that ring true to you? I think a lot of people are waiting for like, because everybody's taking little pieces at a time, right? The guy that cuts you off, the guy that doesn't care. We just don't acknowledge each other while we're walking around. Maybe it's a California problem. Because I just met some people from Dallas, and they said everybody's super nice, but they're like, dude, you drive around in California, and it's almost like you don't exist to everybody else, right? You're just
I
right.
As far as California goes, like I don't know about Huntington. Maybe a little bit in Huntington because it's still California.
As far as the gun control state goes,
yeah, dude. As far as community goes, just in general, like I just don't care because I don't know you, and and you just. I think you put it perfectly, dude. You don't exist to me. I'm never gonna see you again, and just whatever,
you
bro.
don't exist
F you.
You don't exist to me. So like, there's little pieces taken at a time, and so you're just waiting for the person to, like, do that one thing where you're like, that's it, I'm done.
But you know what, dude? You know what though? I think what you did with the old man is totally proper, and it should happen more often. I think people acknowledging their boundaries and saying, "Hey, dude, I don't know why you're doing this. You need to stop because there's no reason for it. The line's not moving any faster."
That's kind of what it was, dude. I was like, listen, man, even if you are senile, you need to hear this, because you'll probably do it 4 or 5 more times, and at least this time you'll be conscious of, like, I don't know. I just felt like a duty to do it. Like, not even for me, for him. I think that's why I didn't blow up on him, because I was just like, dude, like, I don't know what it is about that one. Like, every time I go there, like, some incident like that happens. Like, there was like this Asian lady, and she's pretty foreign, we'll say, right?
Okay.
And so maybe it was just her culture. Like, over there, everybody gets close together in the line because there's less space or something. But she was like right on me, and I was like, "Can you back up a little bit?" And she, like, literally, she was like, "Oh, sorry," and backed up. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
I could have said nothing, but like, God, like, people at the grocery store is like, dude, I just said something, not even that mean, and she was like reciprocated, right?
Dude. I was saying that the other day. So when they messed up Leah's order, she's like, "I don't want to be that person." I'm like, "They messed up your order, dude. Just say something. Don't be rude about it." And like, but that goes into everything. Like, dude, respect your boundaries, and as long as you're not a dick, people will more than likely be like reciprocal to it.
Yeah, I think that goes to just kind of start to segue into it. The homeless people screaming and going crazy and stuff, like, There was some dude who was like talking to himself on the street Wednesday. He was just like sitting there in the park, like there's kids maybe like 200 feet away, and he was just sitting there going, and like I really had an urge to like go over there and talk to him, like, hey dude, you good or you all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like 9 times out of 10, they just like, yeah, I'm fine. You know, they they snap out of it. They're like, oh, like because like what we were saying, like people feel invisible or like you don't exist. Right?
Yes.
So it's like,
Well, I would say probably doubly for homeless people.
yeah. So I think that like he was, I don't know what that mindset would do to you, but from the homeless people that I've talked to and met, it's like you get in this weird headspace where it's like your actions mean nothing because people see the state you're in and they overwrite you. They're just like, okay, some crazy homeless person, let him do what he wants, chucking feces and stuff, and they're just like, just call the cops. You're completely invisible. So like, if you humanize that and be like, hey, like, not like, hey, do you need help? It's like, you good? Because you're doing something that's unacceptable right now.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not saying like baby him. I'm saying correct him. Like, you know,
No.
I didn't
you
walk
know-
over there because part of me was like, I don't know, dude, man, he might actually be crazy.
Well,
you
dude,
know?
and look, the problem with us too is we grew up in California, and so there's a lot of stuff that we have to fight against that's kind of instinctually in us. Like we still have that. I don't know about you, but like I still kind of have that California mindset that I gotta fight against a lot, where it's like this person doesn't exist to me, or that's just some crazy homeless guy. Like those are things I gotta fight against just because I grew
Yeah.
up here.
Because it's so normal.
Yeah.
Culturally normalized or whatever, just like guns should be, but instead heroin addicts are.
I mean,
Yeah, dude.
Fair
Okay,
enough.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine if you got together as like a group of 30 people and just walked around the city to every like homeless encampment person. It's like, hey, you're not camping here anymore. We're taking you to a shelter right now. Get your shit. Let's go.
yeah.
And like, F you, dude. Nope, that's not working. You're coming now, and we're dragging you. And we're just going to yell at you and take your stuff and everything until you go. Because I know what you want to do, but that's not happening here. So instead of just locking you up, we're taking you somewhere where you're going to go get help, and you're going to stay there because, like, if we find you on the street again, we're just going to take you right back as a mob community, not as, like, a cop, whatever.
Yeah, not the police force,
taking it as
the
a
actual community.
And you're going to stay there and, like, you're going to, I don't want to do this. This is bullshit. Yeah, well, guess what? You're a human being, and this earth is shared, and you don't have a right to just, like, do whatever you want. There's some quote from, like, I think Thomas Jefferson basically said, like, with every right, there's an equal and greater social responsibility. I don't want to take that too far out of context because that can be extrapolated to dystopian means. But but basically what I'm saying is, like, I understand that I have a lot of rights in this country, but I don't have a right to just wear like a banana strap down the street. I don't have that.
Dude,
I could.
That's a point I wanted to get to, though. Like the cultural enforcement of like,
I'm sure a lot of people would want to see that. I'm just saying.
but the cultural enforcement of things that are proper. Like we just like, I just don't care now because it's not my problem. It's like, yeah, but by you not doing anything about it, you're like, this is okay because you didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about with like bullies. Like there's nobody likes bullies, and I'm not advocating for bullying. I'm just saying that
I got a point on that. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that like in my social peer group in especially middle school, there was like pressure to do certain things and not do other things that were beneficial to me. Right? Like
I'm not talking about peer pressure to like do drugs and alcohol, but I know what you're saying. It wasn't peer pressure and like do something negative. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No, yeah, like okay, take a broad example. Style, right?
I have a good example too, though.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
It's style. So like when people self-sort in middle school and high school, it's not as much as about interest as it is style. You look like this is the group you go in, right? So, and that has a lot of determination because as you grow up, as you get older, you realize like your appearance is like the very first impression that you make on people.
Yeah.
Right. For good or bad, that's just a fact of reality. And so, if you give off certain vibes, you turn off certain people that have otherwise might have been a good opportunity for you, and you gravitate towards other things. For example, like if I'm goth, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not probably not going to the beach in all black and pins and needles and stuff in my skin, right? Or I'm probably not doing, a myriad of things. It's interesting to see the way people self-sort and stuff, because I know for me in high school, I had like diverse interests. I got along with gamer kids. I got along with the kids in Japanese class. I
Yeah.
got along with like the metalhead kids. I got along with a lot of different people, and so like I just sort of fell into normal, like, yeah, jeans, t-shirt, Converse, whatever guy.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause-
I still
yeah,
that's the look I have to this day.
right. Polo shirt on nice days,
Yeah.
but it's like, but like I also I like, what makes you like that? For instance, like what? Dang, we're getting way off topic, but I gotta finish
Nah,
this.
yeah, go. Yeah,
Like,
I gotta.
did you start greasing your hair because you liked it, or did you like it because your group of friends liked it and you were kind of accepting that social circle and that was kind of the cool thing, consciously or subconsciously? I'm not saying everybody's like, my friends will think I'm cool if I do this, so I'm gonna do this. It's sort of this weird, like, yeah, I kind of like this, and like, when you're trying to find yourself and stuff, 13, 14, 15, I liked all kinds of stuff. Dude, I was listening to Limp Bizkit when I was 12 and Thrice when I was 14.
Yeah.
Okay? So changes happen like fast there, and you're not really sure why you like what you like or how you like what you like. But I do know in my formative years, we were talking like a lot with Storm and stuff, like about how like we're talking about like transcendentalism,
Yeah.
romanticism and a sense of poetry, like William Blake and stuff like that. And that had a big impact on me in terms of wanting deeper lyrics out of music, not just political revolution music.
Yeah. Well, I
Right?
definitely don't want.
So I
political
started to
stuff in my
seek out music that was like self-searching,
Yeah.
not like tear this system down. Like I didn't give. I super didn't care.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually wrote that down. No, but to your point about the music thing, I wanted music that promoted less like you're the problem and more of like what's in me that needs fixing.
Yeah.
Or what's my problem.
Right.
'Cause
Exactly.
I just think that's a better solution.
Exactly. And that was the fruit of hanging out with certain people who we all talked about that. And that, dude, this is not a new concept. This is what everybody knows. When you hang out with your 5 closest people, you become that person.
Yeah, that's what I always tell guys. Like, dude, if you want to do cool stuff, who are you hanging out with? Like, that's why I tell girls all the time. Like, I hang out with my friend Nate because he knows how to build stuff. He also knows stuff about like photography and what do you call it? Video editing and stuff like that. I hang out with my friend Andre because he likes to get down on music, and when I want to vibe out, I want to vibe out. And then I hang out with my brother because we like we like anime, we like freaking music. We do this.
Recording noises.
Recording weird ass noises that
Yeah.
make no sense to anybody.
Dude, that's why fellowship is so important. right?
Yes.
Because we're all more influenced than we think we are. We're not
Oh,
influential. We're
absolutely.
influenced
Yes.
way more than we think we are. I am too. Garbage in, garbage out. What you put in comes out, and that's probably why, for full circle, what we're talking about, like why I don't like watching certain things anymore, like beheading videos and stuff that like vexes the mind. Because
Well, I wanted to make one point too, kind of like about what you were saying about like social pressures and stuff like that. Like when
Yeah.
my kids aren't getting along, like I can't be the arbiter every single time. That's like when they're in the disagreement about I was playing with this toy or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I'm like, you guys need to sort it out. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like this,
you have to do.
you guys got to sort
The
yourselves
dispute should be resolved at the lowest possible level, right?
Yeah.
Between 2 individuals, if not between 3 individuals. It's a Matthew method, right? Like you if you have a problem with somebody, you work it out with them. If you can't work it out with them, you grab a third person and try to work it out with them.
out.
If that doesn't work, you get a community and work it out with them. If that doesn't work, and then they got to go, right? And so like, how does that work out on a societal level? Like, hey, I got a dispute with you. It didn't work. Let's get our neighbor involved. Like, what do you think? We obviously
Exactly.
have a conflict here. That doesn't work. Now the whole community's involved because one person cannot conquer the community. So it's like, if the community feels this way, like, hey, dude, even if you disagree, even if you don't like it, I mean, within reason, right? Because you're all on a personal level. I don't want to take advantage of my neighbor because he lives next to me. You don't want somebody who freaking hates you to live right next to you because they're capable of a lot of things. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, skin in the game. Like, if you piss off your neighbor and they know where your car's parked, be careful, because your life can get hard really fast.
Yeah.
So it's just like there's that is delegated now to cops. Like any dispute, okay, we're calling the cops. And it's like I don't think it rises to that level. But if you take it to that
Well,
level every time,
I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't think that solves the issue. There's still conflict there. You just had somebody stop it.
It doesn't
So
solve the issue.
instead of solving the conflict, you just made it go away.
It doesn't
You put
solve
a
the
band-aid
issue.
on it. Yeah.
The resentment's not gone, and so like the ripple effects of that conflict are not gone, and they'll continue to happen until both people are just out of their spheres of influence. It's just gonna. If my neighbor calls the cops on me and I catch a charge because of him, I'm mad.
Yeah.
Now I'm mad.
Now we got a new problem.
And vindictive.
Yeah.
Right. So guns, dude.
Guns, bro. Yeah.
One of us should just pistols. I really do think we should have duels though. Just as his final thought or whatever. I really think we should have duels. Sanctioned duels. It's basically like, hey, dude, I heard you were talking a bunch of crap on my wife, and so like I'd like to challenge you to a duel. And like if he refuses, then it's public knowledge that like, hey, he was talking all this smack and stuff, and like he refused to duel because obviously like he can't back up what he says, and he's so like basically like if you're making that public, if I say a bunch of things and then don't back up what I say, then it's like my word's not good for anything. I'm just I'm a charlatan.
We need to get back to that too. Like your word needs to mean something, and there needs to be real world consequences for you not holding to your word.
Right. So it's like on your record or something like, do you have a criminal record? No. But were you challenged any duels? A couple. Did you accept?
You know what, dude? The problem today is like the culture has just shifted so far in the sense of what we find acceptable. And I can't disagree about duels. I can't say that we shouldn't do that. Like there's obvious things that I could say today and say about a whole bunch of talking points about like why we shouldn't do duels, but like get down to the brass tacks, dude. If you're not mad enough to duel with this guy, settle the deal. Settle your dispute.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, like, it's not just like, oh, he challenged me to a duel because I could challenge anybody to a duel. Say, oh, you refused. My point is like, it's like a sanctioned duel. It's like I go and say like, this is the reason we're dueling, not because he's a bitch. It like the reason is like he insulted my wife and called her this, this, and this, and I'm not okay with that. It's unacceptable to call my wife a whore or whatever. Like you either furnish proof that she is or duel me. And he refused to duel. So he either needs to rescind what he said publicly, or he has to duel me. One of the two, right?
That'll make a polite
Because
society real quick.
Because if you were a community, everybody would be asking like, so I heard you said something about his wife, and then you took it back. So you're just a hothead. You just say stuff about people, or
dude, that's why community's so important. It's like, hey, I heard you said this about Yeah. Let's take the dual part out of it real quick and just take it back to like a small community. If somebody was talking about my wife, like I know my friends, they'd be like, hey man, why are you saying that about Nick's wife? I know her. You can't be talking like that.
Yeah.
That's why we need small communities. Well, I don't know about small, but we need community. We need fellowship. We need to know our neighbors.
Yeah, institutions, I would say. Like definitely institutions. I'm like, it's tough now because, like I said, like people move a lot and people are from places and not from places. There's great like resorting that's going on, and like people, and I get that. I think this is just a suburb problem.
Yeah.
Because everybody lives in their box, sometimes doesn't even leave their box to get into their moving box because it's in the garage, right? So they stop watching their entertainment on a box, turn the box off, in their box, go down into the garage part of the box, get in their moving box, go in their moving box to their work box, and like literally interact with nobody. And like you don't have you can have the least interaction possible if you want to.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. And I think like people are starting to move away from that. I don't want to be in a listless suburb of like not knowing anybody, or like having to drive 20 minutes to get to anywhere, any friend or stuff like that. There's a weird loneliness to that.
Oh, dude, yes. And I'll say that for another time. The point is that community and fellowship is really, really important. And not just having a fellowship of people, but like knowing the people around you, the people who live next to you. Like I think it's important to have a relationship with them, and a good relationship.
I don't think guns would, even if I didn't know people, I don't think guns.
Circle.
First of all, I wouldn't be afraid of somebody with a gun on their hip.
Dude, my neighbor has a gun on his hip. I'm not afraid of that dude at all.
If I saw somebody in public with a gun on their hip, I would assume they knew what they were doing. I wouldn't be like, If I saw it in their waistband, I might have a problem with it. But if I saw it on their hip, they're publicly displaying it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, he probably knows what he's doing with it. He doesn't just have it because he can't wait to rob somebody. You know,
Yeah.
that's just not how a criminal would act. They just wouldn't, hey, I have a gun.
Yeah.
I I think that should be normalized more of like just having guns and everything we hear about, like especially that last shooting. I don't like to get into shootings because like they're so emotionally charged.
Yeah.
But like, everything I know about it is that there were people with guns willing to go in and use their guns on the guy with the gun, and the other people with the gun, the monopoly gun force people who chose not to use their guns, were not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So it's like that delegation of force, like I was saying, like I don't think cops are bad. I just think that it's bad to always trust that they have your best interest in mind because you're part of the public and they serve the public. Because I don't think serve and protect is actually in their like duty. There was some kind of court case that was saying like they don't have a duty
I
to
remember
do
this.
that. They don't have a duty
Yeah,
to do that.
that's.
Yeah,
I think
which is weird.
I could be
because-
taking this totally out of context, so fact check me. But it was basically like they don't have to do something.
they don't- yeah.
Was that's a real basic, probably out of context, but that's basically what it came down to. Was like, yeah, they don't have to do that if they don't want to. And I'm like, what are we paying them for then?
Yeah, exactly. I like there is definitely a use for specializing in police force. I'm just saying that like I don't always trust that they have my best interests at hand because they have families, they have kids, and they're only human, and their first allegiance is to them first. So if it comes between what's best for me and they just want to go home to their kids and stuff, I mean it's not even that I can fault them for doing that. I'm just saying like I don't want to delegate my well-being and rights to you because you have a badge and I don't. I just don't.
Well,
want it.
dude, it's the same argument for like a smaller government, right? They shouldn't be doing everything for you because they don't live with you. They don't live in your communities, and so they don't even know what you need, nor do they care. Maybe to a certain degree, but they don't care as much as the community does.
I have said this over and over that like if you remove the cops, there will still be jailers and sheriffs. You know, there's just not going to be city cops. There's still going to be jails. There's still going to be, sheriffs that show up and like there's still going to be detectives and stuff. It's just not going to be a cop on every corner. Like I don't know because honestly, I don't know like the best way to like stamp down crime, but I do know that there's repercussions and side effects of having a cop on every corner that I would rather also not have.
Yeah.
Is there a third way? I don't know. I just think everybody should have a gun. It's just me.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be as big a problem as I think it would, and those problems would sort themselves out very quickly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was thinking about this whole podcast when I said 2 years, and you said it would sort itself out faster than that. You're probably right. It would probably sort it out a lot faster than that.
I would duel everyone, so.
Yo, mom was.
Honestly, dude, I think I don't know. I just think the Coliseum thing was a good idea. I just think
I like
that's
the Coliseum thing.
I think that's a super good idea, dude. I think like it's UFC to the ultimate, right? Because
Yeah.
then you give them like weapons too, right? Like weapon.
I was just
Yeah,
about to
yeah.
say that, dude. I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
You beat me to it.
yeah. I think that that would be fun for the whole family, and I just think that like I think there's a lot of people. I think that would end pretty quick too. We would blow through the people willing to do that pretty fast. And I don't know the exact price that you'd have to put on somebody's sentence to like get them to sign for that or whatever. But I think that is a good way of getting people to like mitigating costs. They deal with each other. And that's barbaric and everything. So you signed up for it. Like, are you kidding me? There's things way more. There's things way more barbaric that we do. Way more barbaric. Maybe not to the death then. Maybe just a limb or something.
I mean, dude, they're just. I think the real point is that there just has to be a different solution. Like, the solutions that we're coming up with now just don't seem to be bearing good fruit. I don't think.
Yeah, I think people get off too easy on stuff too. I think people do their time and stuff. They go back out into like anonymity again. I think 100% the accountability is lacking.
Well, dude, and to bring it full circle, to wrap it up, like what it really comes down to, like you can police everybody to death. You can make policies to death. You can restrict everything to death. But the real change is going to come from the culture
Dude,
and having a good community.
yeah, I will. Let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
That, like, I remember when I was like 23, me and Amanda had this friend, and she was like talking about like she was seeing some guy, and he had a girlfriend, and she was like, I don't know her, I don't care, and I was like, yeah, but I know you, and I didn't know you were capable of doing something like that, and that's like a super shitty thing to do. So like, and like
Yeah,
she was like,
for shame, dude.
she was like
for
struck.
shame.
She was like struck by that for a second, like almost like I was judging her, and I was like, I'm not judging you. You literally told me what kind of person you are, and like you just thought that like that it was totally okay because I don't know them either, and so like who cares about them? And I was literally like that. I was like, dude,
Dude,
that's not. I'm not okay with being friends with somebody like that. Like, who knows when you're gonna betray me? Like, I was just literally like, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter. Like, you should have kept that to yourself because now I know. Like,
Well, don't
you
judge
know,
me, like, dude. No, yes, like it, dude. And it's a two-way street. I expect my friends and you and my family to call me out when I'm saying something stupid like that. Like, dude, that I'm sorry. I tell my son this sometimes when he says dumb things. I'm like, that was a really stupid thing for you to say. Like, dude, just a real quick segue. My boys were in the pool, and my middle child dropped the floaty, and my oldest child grabbed it, and he said, "Well, it was just floating." And I was like, "That's a stupid thing to say, dude, because you know exactly what happened. He dropped it." And you're just trying to lawyer your way out of this right now. That was a stupid thing for you to say. And to your point about that chick, like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't know her. That's a stupid thing to say.
it does matter. Maybe not to you because you're a heartless bitch. But like,
Well,
it
dude,
does to me because it's not even like it's not. I don't care about what you're doing to that girl. I care that you're capable of doing that thing. That's like the accountability thing. Like, if you're capable of that, then I'm not out of step in assuming that you're capable of other things too. That I'm not okay with you being around me if you're capable of doing those things. Just like when it comes to like guns and owning guns, like if you're capable of certain things, I'm not okay with you like that's why we have gun control in the first place,
yeah.
right? Because I'm not okay with you owning a gun. The difference is I don't have a right to say you can't talk because I'm not okay with what you're saying or what you have to say. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is like owning a gun for like the right to equalized self-defense is not something that I can be like I can be okay or not okay with it, but I can't affect them in any way. Just like that girl, like I can't tell her you need to stop, but I can tell I can shame her. And so I mean
Yeah.
she didn't really want to talk to me
Well,
anymore
I
after
think what
that.
you mean to say is you can't stop her from doing it, but you can say, "Hey, what you're doing is not okay."
Yeah.
And we should be encouraging like behavior like what you're doing, right? Like, dude, like when I was a raging alcoholic and freaking my friends and dad were like, "Hey, what you're doing is not okay." Yes, good. Shame me because I'm doing shameful things. And
Yeah.
like it's a two-way street. I'm not just saying like that. You say this a lot. Like I'm not sitting here up on a pulpit, right? It's a two-way street. And so we should be accountable to each other like that. I'm like, don't judge me. Well, I'm going to because what you're doing is like disgusting.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like name them and shame them thing. All that stuff that's going on, like on the internet and stuff. Like, oh, they voted for this person, or they think this way, or they're whatever Christian or Muslim, so shame them. That's not that. What I'm saying is like you're violating an objective good right now. You're violating like you're helping somebody do something like objectively wrong,
Yeah.
and helping them like you know with their infidelity and stuff. And it's like there's so many things that it says about you. I just, like, and it's not like an opinion thing. Like I think it's wrong. It is wrong.
Yeah.
It's not, morality is objective, and that's why some people seek to justify it. Or we went over this. That's why people don't tell the truth about certain things they're doing because they subconsciously know that it's wrong, even if they think it's not. There's a reason they want to keep it hidden
Yeah.
because they don't like it being exposed. So. I don't know.
Dude. I mean, you brought it full circle. That was a great way. That's a good point to end on. I think it's a good point to end on. Any final words?
Yeah. So let's. I don't know. This conversation is pretty charged and stuff, and I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. We're not trying to find it. We are trying to find answers. I'm just trying to find
That's the whole point.
solutions. Outside of the box solutions instead of just saying like down with the cops or anything. I'm just saying like, all right, what are some actual good solutions and not just like mental health care? Because nobody cares about men. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
look, dude, and some of the things we said here are a little bit hyperbolic, and like they may seem extreme. Like whether or not we're serious about the whole Coliseum thing, it's, dude. Look, it's hyperbolic, and maybe I'm not serious about it, but maybe I am, dude. But like you were just saying, like I'm not here to tell you the answers. I'm just here to like I can't just complain about something and not offer up a solution.
Or think of something. I Duels, Coliseum. Like, of course, I'm like being facetious, but like at the same time, I also don't like the idea of just like 1,000 cops on every corner and just like
That's not good.
policing the shit out of people. But I also don't like the idea of like homeless people walking around like, well, he's not doing anything wrong. Yeah, he is though. He's being homeless and a drug addict, and like that's not good for him. That's not good for me. But
Well,
mostly that's not good for him. Do you think he wants to live that way? Do you think he wants to just be on the street, invisible to everyone, screaming to himself? I don't think he does. So it's not good for him. It's not good for me. I don't want him locked up. So now what do we do? And so like I just want to hear from people, you know, like on our YouTube clips or comments and stuff. Like I want to hear like mostly the hate. If people want to hate on me, that's cool. I'm chill with that. I
Haters are
actually
welcome.
I completely
Haters, come
encourage
on
it.
on.
Completely encourage it. Boom, roasted. You know. So,
I just watched that episode the other day. No, for sure. Yeah. You know, whatever you have to say. There's no.
I want to hear what you have to say about Burger King too. I like the Whopper. Good Whopper with cheese is good, but is it worth that much? It's not. It's overpriced. Sorry.
Dude, look, and I'll say this right now. All fast food is garbage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Look,
is.
dude, I'm not saying I don't eat it. I'm not saying I ain't gonna go to Del Taco right now. Give me a double double, but it's garbage.
What's a go-to one that you'd want to eat though? That's like you're like I don't want complete trash. What's your go-to fast food one?
Probably Del Taco. It's the least garbage.
Yeah.
Like I work there, dude, and I'm not saying like, oh, they have the highest quality ingredients, but like the way they handle their food, at least at the spot I worked at, like the
I
way
can
they
agree
make the
with that.
meat and smash the beans, like
I can agree with
they
that.
really do smash the beans and yada yada yada. But and even if I didn't work there, it's just like you were saying about the whole like leave it in the car thing, right, dude? Morgan Spurlock did that with McDonald's, where he left it in a thing for like 30 days and just nothing happened to it. And so it's So my
Well,
go-to is
hold
Del
on.
Taco.
Let me make a good point about that because first of all, everybody gives a trash about if you leave McDonald's out, it doesn't mold and stuff. And it's like flies don't even eat it. Yeah, flies eat shit. Okay, so if you're taking your cue on what to eat from them, good luck with that. Okay. As for me, I'll have the thing that's I can buy and leave in my pantry for 30 days and it's still good. That's a win for me.
Well,
So
with
I'm
these
just saying,
gas
dude.
prices going on,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, good point.
No, I was like, dude, I've eaten a lot of McDonald's. I'm pretty healthy. So,
Dude, that
Mhm.
was the conclusion of his thing. It's like you can't eat it every day and do nothing.
that's stupid to think.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know, dude.
But
Listen, I'm not dumb. I know that like there's a lot of like nutrients that are stripped out of it, and it's mostly empty calories, which is why we have a health crisis in this country. And that's a whole other topic. Is that you eat calorie dense but nutrient deficient foods. Your body tells you you're hungry when you're not because your body craves these nutrients. So you think you're hungry, which is why you eat McDonald's. You can eat like 2,000 calories and be hungry 2 hours later because you're just like, okay, I had a bunch of calories, but my body's still craving potassium, riboflavin, niacin, thiamine that it just didn't get in that food.
nerd.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, that's good though, dude. No, you're like food education's important. But yeah, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
This has
All
been
right.
going. Let's
Yeah.
see where are we at right now. We're at freaking hour and a half right now, almost.
Comment though. I
Yeah.
will read them and respond to every single one because I want to know. I want to know what people think.
Yeah, man. We're gonna do the YouTube shilling right now. Like, comment, and subscribe, dude.
Yeah. No,
You
I
know?
don't even care if they subscribe or anything. I want to know. I want
The most
to,
important thing is the engagement. Like, we want to hear from you.
I want
we
to
wanna
know.
hear from you.
Yeah. So. All right, Yo-Yo Ma's a famous cellist. In case anybody didn't know. I mean, I'll just keep saying it until he's world famous.
Yep,
So
Yo-Yo
but
Ma was
world
a
famous
fam-
on his freaking cello. You know. So
Hell yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of Pathway. We'll see you on the next one.
peace and hair grease.
Peace and hair grease.